The Pope's chief watchdog on sex abuse just got sued for covering up sex abuse. Joining us now with updates on this rather skewed story, Church Militant's Rome correspondent, Dr. Jules Gomes. Jules, the Cardinal, Pope Francis himself, put in charge to oversee the child sex abuse crisis, just got sued for covering up sex abuse of minors. Really?
Brad, this could not have come at a worse time, because the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors is already facing meltdown. And Cardinal O'Malley, Seán O'Malley, Archbishop of Boston, has been sued now for covering up sex abuse of minors by 3 former students, Catholic students of the Arlington Catholic School.
And when did this abuse take place? How far? This is not decades and decades ago.
It's not particularly historic, but the lawsuit was filed on the 5th of May, a day after O'Malley made a speech in Rome, admitting basically that there were very serious criticisms of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors. This took place between 2011 and 2016. And the 3 boys who have complained were aged between 15 and 17.
So this is on O'Malley's watch there in Boston, happened right underneath his nose. The lawyer there in Boston who has been just a bulldog in outing the cover-up of clerical sex abuse in America, Mitchell Garabedian, he's on O'Malley's tail. What's he saying?
Well, this is what he's saying. He says Cardinal O'Malley has failed woefully in protecting children within the Archdiocese of Boston, never mind worldwide. And he asks O'Malley for the secret files to see what information he has concerning the school principal, Stephen Biaginoni, and concerning what his supervisors knew. And O'Malley goes on, Garabedian goes on to say it's time for O'Malley to reveal what he has substantively in those secret files concerning the sexual abuse of 3 innocent children.
Yeah, he's talking about the secret archives that each and every diocese is always keeping on specific things like this. Interesting, O'Malley is the head of Boston Archdiocese. This is the same place where the whole sex abuse crisis of minors blew up in 2002 with the Boston Globe's bombshell reporting. The Globe's reporting was eventually turned into an epic movie called Spotlight. Many of our viewers are aware of that. And that featured a character playing this role Garabedian had back then. And Garabedian, the lawyer back at Ground Zero in Boston, still going after the Archbishop of Boston, O'Malley. Back then it was Bernard Law. Now it's O'Malley. Things don't seem to have changed that much. Jules, what else can you tell us about what this case in Garabedian that he's got going against O'Malley?
Well, he's also got 2 bishops named there, Bishop Robert Dealey of Portland, Maine, and Bishop Ugliazzo, the auxiliary bishop of Boston. Last year, another former student, Kevin Doherty, also complained about the sexual abuse inflicted by Stephen Biagnoni, who was the vice principal at that time, apparently later promoted to principal, and at one point sent on long leave. There are all sorts of stories about what actually happened, but it's very clear that the diocese knew what was happening, and what this vice principal would do was have wrestling matches with these young boys who were in detention, and he would take their faces and press them to his genitals. In some cases, rub his penis against them, and all sorts of very, what the lawsuit calls obscene and lascivious activity, lewd activity.
So you're saying, Jules, this recent lawsuit from the Arlington Catholic School, the students suing him, is not the first time he was sued by a student who claims abuse under O'Malley's watch at the Arlington Catholic School.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if we look closely, there is likely to be many more cases coming up against the headmaster, the principal.
So let's look at O'Malley. You know, he recently got egg on his face when a top man on his Pontifical Abuse Council overseeing the abuse of minors recently resigned. Can you catch our viewers up to speed on that?
Well, what happened was the world-renowned Jesuit expert on sexual abuse and safeguarding, Father Hans Zollner, who teaches at the Pontifical Gregorian University, heads a department there on this whole thing. He announced his resignation and he put his resignation note on Twitter 3 hours after Cardinal O'Malley tried to put a spin on it and said that Father Zollner had resigned because Father Zollner doesn't have enough time to, attend meetings of the commission. And that was a huge embarrassment because Father Zollner then went on to spell out precisely why he had resigned, effectively saying that the Pontifical Commission was not fit for purpose.
So following let's go back a while now, a few years. Following the Summer of Shame in 2018 that was kicked off by the revelations about serial abuser Theodore McCarrick, it turns out O'Malley was actually informed, or under him, his direct people under him were informed about McCarrick, Cardinal Theodore McCarrick at the time, his sordid abuse allegations, and O'Malley did nothing. Can you tell us about that?
We've reported on this extensively, Brad, and not only O'Malley did nothing, but he shared the platform with McCarrick. He was warned about McCarrick. He denied any knowledge of McCarrick's, wrongdoings. And the relationship between O'Malley and McCarrick is very, very dodgy, to put it mildly.
Jules, just one spitball question for you. Do you think, just your own opinion here, do you think this is going to be enough to torpedo O'Malley's position there as head of the Pontifical Watchdog Commission for overseeing the abuse of minors? Do you think this is going to be enough to take him down and that Pope Francis is going to ask for him to resign?
I don't think so, because Pope Francis, with certain people, he takes a very long time to remove them from their positions, even if they are accused of something serious. People he doesn't like, of course, he asks them to quit immediately. And O'Malley has been one of his favorites for a very long time. So we just have to wait and see when the axe will fall, the papal axe will fall on Cardinal Seán O'Malley.
Well, it seems like a pattern has emerged of compromised individuals tapped for key positions in the Vatican. The question is why? And we don't have all the answers, but some questions do need to be asked. Jules, thank you very much for your update on this story that seems a bit like the fox watching the hen house.
God bless you. Thank you, Brad.